Dope.
We have a really great guest here, the newest signee of Reach Records.
Yes.
Alexxander's in the building. What's going on, man?
Let's go. What's going on, guys?
Welcome
Happy
in, man.
Happy to be here.
I think it's great having you on just because with you being the new signee, everyone wants to know, like, who is Alexxander? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's great that you're here. Just talk about, like, where you are in life right now. Like, how's this season of life been treating you so far?
Man, it's been a lot of highs and lows. Like, you know, the recent signing, the announcement, everything has just been super high. But then at the same time, just balancing stuff with family, friends, stuff like that. You know, losing family members. It's been a tough season, but I think, you know, God's been faithful through all of it.
Yeah, that's good. I wanted to tap in and even bring Ace in on this too, because I think a lot of people just want to know, like, how you guys even got connected, because most of you guys know that with Ace being SVP A&R here, you always tap into artists and talent. So how did you even come across Alexxander's music? And then I'm curious to know how this whole connection even happened.
No, thank you, Meah. So I was just scrolling through Spotify. To be honest, I was kind of like listening to Tommy Royale, which I don't necessarily. Tommy's the homie, but I don't casually listen to his music that often. I don't know why. I was just scrolling through, just listening.
That's
to stuff.
awesome. Shout out Tommy.
Shout out Tommy.
The amazing, the legend. And I was just scrolling through, listening, and so I just took a scroll down to like artists, like just to kind of see what other artists in that space were, and I came across Alexxander's music, and there was a song, I may butcher the pronunciation, but Todo Por Ti?
Todo Por Ti.
Todo Por Ti.
Thank you, algorithm.
Thank you, algorithm. Nah, so I came across that joint, and I was like, it stood out because obviously it's Spanish language music, but the sonics of it were like super progressive and like pop leaning and really interesting. So I sent it to the group chat, our exec group chat, like immediately, and like Lecrae and D Diaz were like, "Yo, this is fire!" And so they were. Cause I wanted to make sure, you know, I think it's dope. But I also wanted like D, who's Latina, to just be able to confirm what I felt was special.
Yeah.
And then I DM'd you, and and I don't know, I forgot what happened after that. I think
Yeah. So like in the midst of you listening to that, like Samuel Ash was working on a record for y'all's playlist, like the summer playlist.
Right.
And I remember that in the morning he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm working on a record for the Reach Summer playlist. I want you to do some songwriting on it." Like, it wasn't even for me to be on it originally. He was like, "I want you to do some songwriting on it, and if it's, you know, if it's fire, then we'll get you involved in it." And that same afternoon I see your DM, and so it's like y'all, like, Reach was tapped in on both ends without you even knowing it, you know?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was just a natural just discovery. And I felt like, I think also it was the song, Meah, which I think was like super unique.
Yeah.
But it was also your tone. I am a big stickler on tone. Like, that's something that's literally God-given, how you sound, your authentic voice. I mean, I think some of our favorite singers and artists in the world, yeah, they have good songs, have a nice charisma, but what is the thing that separates?
Yeah.
Like, the reason why I probably would have been a trash artist is like tone, how you sound. I feel like it stood out. Like, this kid's voice is pretty crazy. I mean, say more about that. Like, is that something you realized or knew about?
Bro, that's
early?
a crazy compliment. Yeah. No, I'll take it, because that's definitely a focus. Like with tone, like, I remember I have a very nasally, high pitched voice. Like, so growing up, I used to get bullied a little bit about that.
Did you punch back is the question?
Well, it was on video games.
Oh.
So it was like, I put on my headset and be like, "Is that a girl?" I'd be like,
"Oh, word?"
Yeah. Well, I was like 14.
Okay.
Like,
I mean,
but
he was young.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I started practicing making my voice deeper.
Hilarious. This is the irony. Keep going.
Yeah. So I practiced to make my voice deeper, and I would get on video games and pretend that I had like a deep voice.
That's crazy.
I'm doing it right now, actually. If you guys can't tell, I actually talk like I'm playing.
This is like in school, or just while you're gaming with other guys.
This was in school too, a little bit. Like, I would deepen my voice a little bit, and then I hit puberty, and it all
worked out.
exactly.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, so when it comes to, I'm thinking about the reach movement of just like 116, and I was thinking about your signing and thinking about the whole roster in general. And one thing I love is just the fact that no artist on the roster sounds alike. Like everyone's very different, and you bring that to the table. What is it? Thinking about like the movement of 116 and like even the groundbreaking moments they've had just in Christian music and hip hop. Like what that just means to you to be a part of this.
It means a lot because it's crazy without you even knowing the language, without you even being Latin,
Sure.
Like you pick the guy that's different in his own space,
Sure.
So it's like I'm not just groundbreaking because I'm bringing in Spanish music to a English record label,
For sure.
but I'm groundbreaking because I'm groundbreaking in my own space. Like
Sure.
Latin people are discovering my sound and understanding it is not something like what I'm bringing to the table is not super common. You know, I'm very like pop leaning. I like using rock references and fusioning them with Latin music.
Yeah.
So that's something that's not super common in my space.
I think it would be dope to even kind of rehash that in your like native language. I feel like just for the people that are probably, I know you obviously have a lot of like Spanish speaking followers too. Could you maybe like say that? Because I think the Latin space needs to probably hear that too.
Yeah, claro. Pues una de las cosas que hace la unión de Rich y Alexxander especial es que yo estoy haciendo sonidos pues muy muy distintos a lo que el espacio latino está acostumbrado. A mí me encanta hacer fusiones con sonidos pop, con sonidos de rock. Esas son mis referencias y yo las fusiono con sonido latino. Entonces, Rich, que es como que conocido por romper esquemas en el hip hop, pues yo estoy siendo reconocido por romper esquemas en lo latino.
Yeah, I think it's just we may do this throughout the segment just to kind of like bridge that gap between our audience and your audience, which I think is pretty cool.
I want to ask you something really quick, Ace. One thing I love is that you saw Alexxander and didn't want for him to change when he got here. Like you still was like, even just now, you being like, I think it's important for you to say that in Spanish. I think that's so authentic and I don't know. I think that's a very, in a way that you see him, you know what I'm saying? Why do you think that moments like that's important for you for him to be authentic to who he is and like, in real time and then even when it comes to artistry? That's
a great question, Meah. Thank you. I feel like that's the beauty of, I feel like hip hop culture, Reach Records culture. And then and the third element would be my unique African immigrant culture. Because my family's, I'm first gen American. So like if you talk to my mom, you would think she got to America like last week. She's been here for 40 years. Because her social circle is all around other Liberians. And I feel like there's sometimes a pressure for immigrants or the minority cultures, minority languages to feel like they have to assimilate or downplay who they are to fit in. And there are times where to build a bridge, you speak, English is your second language, but you speak it obviously well. But I feel like I don't want people to have to lose their primary culture to collaborate with the majority culture. Yeah. And I feel like that's important. So that's something I just think about. And I feel like Christian culture could do a better job of embracing those other cultures. I think there has been progress made, right? Yeah. And I think places like Reach Records have given people, even the work that Lecrae has done, to be like, hey, by the way, there's other voices. Hip hop is another expression of Christian music and yada, yada, yada. So I think that it's really good for people to, of majority background, to hear that, champion it, but not feel like they have to, the minority culture shouldn't have to feel like they have to like downplay or assimilate or shrink their authenticity to fit in. It's more like you be you, we'll be us, and that's how we can impact our local context, our local culture for the kingdom, for the gospel. And that's so I know I said a lot, but that's the heart behind
100%. It. I feel like a lot of people's expectations of what representation looks like, it may look like just representing their own group. And so like, who would have imagined that like Lecrae opening a mic, opening a door to someone just outside, completely outside of his community, outside of his culture, and just embracing that and saying, have the mic, have the he's empowering me
Sure.
to reach an audience that is not used to, just seeing a Puerto Rican. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's powerful. Yeah, I think it's really cool. And I hope we can continue to do more of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just is a reminder for us in the West, even though I'm, African, descent and first generation American, like the gospel is not limited to our Western American expression. The gospel is so transferable and so malleable that it can interrupt, it can intervene any culture.
Yeah.
And then it can express itself locally and culturally. Now the tenets of the gospel doesn't change, but the expression of it's going to look different. And so whether that's Puerto Rico, whether that's Nigeria, Liberia, I think we need to platform the gospel, not platform the Western version of it. So that's kind of my thing.
And I think it even broadens our horizons. Like, and I one thing that I thrive on and that I just genuinely love is authenticity. You know what I'm saying? And if I think even if you came to the label, Alexxander, and came and changed your sound, I don't think most people would be able to resonate with that. You know what I'm saying? Because even me, who's not Spanish speaking, but hearing the new single, I was listening to it this morning. Correct me if I'm wrong, Celebrar.
That's right.
That was
hearing
great.
that, see, I be trying.
Ah.
Hearing that, I didn't even, off of first listen, I didn't know what you were saying, but it sounded celebratory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, so it's something about that resonated with me where I had it on repeat. You know what I'm saying? My niece is asking me what I'm listening to, and it's kind of like, partially, I really don't know, but it made me want to look into what the lyrics meant and the inspiration behind it, fueling our conversation today. So I'm excited for you being a part of this, and I even want to know like what sparked your interest in music to begin with. Like I know we're gonna go back a little bit more even in the next segment, but I just want to start there. What's kind of sparked you to really want to even go into being an artist?
Yeah, that's so good. What started my interest in music was really just my heritage, my background, like my family's legacy. My great-great-grandpa was a poet. My great-grandpa was also a poet. They have books with just poems and poems and poems. My grandpa was part of a salsa group, La Orquesta Nater. Amazing music that they put out. He used to play at clubs, bars, and stuff like that in Puerto Rico. And then later on in his life, he gave his life to Christ. He introduced my dad to the gospel, and then my dad was a Christian artist, so a gospel singer as well. So it's just like a lineage. My aunt is Julissa, who's also a worship singer, and it's just filled with musical talent. So I definitely tried to run away from it at first. It wasn't.
Why?
My dad was out the house too much. Like my dad would be gone for like a tour for a year, 2 years, and I feel like that affected me a lot as a kid, and it made me resent music. It made me say like, because of you, I can't have my dad at home. So obviously, after kind of understanding my dad's calling and like what he was doing, I understood the magnitude of how important it is to go bring the gospel, and then he also forced me into the studio. And
shout out Pops.
Yeah, he forced me into the studio to record a song with him, and it was awful. I did a terrible job. Don't look it up because it's actually out there on platforms. But
go find it, y'all.
But don't look it up. And then, man, I fell in love with making music. Me encantó. Sorry if I go to Spanish, pero que me encantó hacer música en español porque con mi papá. Porque cuando empezamos a trabajar en el estudio, pues no. Cuando empezamos a trabajar en el estudio, mi papá me estaba dando muchas notas de que, oye, haz esto con tu voz, haz esto. Y yo no era capaz de hacerlo, no podía salir de mí porque no conocía. Y ahí fue que me enamoré de la música y empecé a practicar. Cuando salí de esa sesión, que fue horrible, empecé a practicar y luego de eso me enamoré y me inculqué en la música. But yeah, my bad, y'all.
No,
I
do
can't
not
get out my
apologize.
ideas
don't.
in English.
This is why we're here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you be yourself. Alexxander, man, I think for a lot of our audience, they're getting acclimated to who you are, and and your background. Could you just walk us through a little bit, young Alexxander, where you were born, how you were raised, your background, your family, just to kind of give people a 1,000-foot view on who you are and your origin story?
Yeah, I was born in Bayamón, Puerto Rico. It's basically like one of the most dangerous places in Puerto Rico. It actually, like worldwide, it's considered one of the most dangerous places on earth because of the amount of population and the amount of murders that happen. So it's a dangerous place, but I love Bayamón. There's something about it that is so different than the rest of the island. My whole family's from there. So my grandparents, they lived in El Caserío, which is what you guys, I think out here, you guys call it like Section 8s, like
public housing.
Public housing,
Gotcha.
Free housing. So that's where my grandparents lived. And I, for most of my childhood, since my dad was, traveling so much, and my mom was working, managing my sisters, and a lot of the times traveling with them, I would stay with my grandparents in El Caserío. And so I was raised around like just the El Caserío es peligroso, be careful going out, stuff like that. Like a lot of people assume those things, like it's like a dangerous community. But there was a lot of heart. There was a lot of love. That's what I experienced. I mean, there was also a lot of death.
Yeah.
I remember my grandpa would teach me how to count at night as we heard gunshots go off at night. So it would be like, ba, 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 ba. And I'd be like, how many was that? And I would have to go off the noise and be like, ba, 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 ba. And I'd be like, that's 4. And that's what we would do at night all the time. And that's how he would calm me down to go, back to sleep.
Wow, that's crazy.
But I mean, y'all should definitely visit Puerto Rico. I know that wasn't the best
promo,
but Puerto Rico is amazing. It's very beautiful. Our beaches, our culture, our people are very, very welcoming, very loving. There's definitely a lot of political stuff and a lot of different dilemmas. But I feel like if you just don't get involved in any of that stuff, you're not in any danger. And that's kind of where my grandparents were at. They were Christians right in the middle of it, and they would serve the community. They would serve people there.
Were you helping serve with them at times?
I think I was only there till I was like 6 or 7.
Gotcha.
So I don't think I was developed enough to. But I definitely made a lot of friends that I even still talk to today.
So after 6 and 7, did you move back with your parents? Or?
Yeah. I started kind of living with my parents more, and at that point, my dad's still out of the house. Not really. Not.
He's doing the Lord's. He's performing and doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think there's a balance to it. Honestly, I think even my dad would respond the same way as I am, and say that he could have definitely been more intentional and taken us and traveled with him and stuff. But and it's something that I want to address in my life now that I'm starting this out. I want to make sure that I'm that my children and my wife are, which I don't have kids yet, but when I do, that they're just involved and that they see what I'm at, and also like just having accountability. That's important for a Christian artist. And I think tell me
why that's important.
Yeah, I think just my dad made a lot of mistakes. My dad missed the mark a lot. He like put music, I think I would say first over the gospel. And so like the art was definitely in the middle and at the heart of his ministry at that time. And it created like friendships and relationships with the industry that shouldn't have been there, and that kind of cost him to just have no type of accountability, because if all your musicians and everybody involved in your projects are they don't have any type of responsibility, they don't believe in God, they don't have someone that that corrects them, then I mean that's what it's going to lead you to. And I think that's where my dad missed the mark. That's definitely something I appreciate about Reach too, is just like you guys are always checking in on me, like from the beginning, even before you guys signed me and we were just walking together, you know, recommending me books, sending me podcasts, telling me like, hey, how are you doing? How's this? How's that? I remember you and I just sitting for like a few hours at a restaurant and literally just talking about my marriage, you know, at the beginning when I had first gotten married. And so I always appreciate that, and I recognize how important it is.
Yeah, I think your actual history, family history, gives you the, you know, credibility to say that's important. And I think that's powerful. That you have that wisdom going into this, as we know, you know, Meah, you know, being a Christian, being a Christian artist, having a platform, and then being young. There's a lot of that goes into that, and it's so easy for us to operate where the art just starts to become the focus, and then money and success comes in, and it's like, before you know it, it's like, yo, I started it for one reason, but this other reason is taking over. So I think it's good for where you are now to have that self-awareness. Also want to dig, like, as you're growing up in the house, how are you introduced to music? Are you like singing at church? Is it you hearing your dad's music? How is that gift of music developing in you? Like, whether that's writing, are you writing poetry? Tell me what's going on at that age.
Yeah, so my parents started pastoring a church right around when I was like 8, 9 years old. So as soon as I moved back in the house, they start pastoring. And my dad's still traveling and stuff. My mom's taking, you know, a lot of the heavy load. And I was involved in like the worship team and stuff like that. I actually I got to pick songs. I got to kind of like, you know, say what direction we would go, but I didn't really get to ever perform or anything like that. And it was my parents did that on purpose. They were protecting me, and they were like, we just want you to experience like church. We don't want you to be, you know, just serving. Like PKs are known for, you know, handling so many different areas of church. And so they didn't want that. They didn't want to turn me into anything like that. What they did though was, like, my dad bought me a drum set, and he said, don't play the one at church. I want you to play the one you have at home. And that was on purpose, so that I wouldn't connect music with church and job or anything like that. And so
that's interesting.
I think that was a healthy experience for me.
Healthy.
Yeah. How
do you feel like that wisdom from your parents shaped your relationship with music and church and Christ and gifting and all that?
Yeah. My dad, I remember when the iPods came out, he got himself an iPod, and he put a ton of songs in it. A lot of references from varying from everything. A lot of Italian music, Asian music. Like, my dad, definitely a music expert. And he gifted it to me, and he was like, I want you to just listen and tell me what you like, what you vibe with. And so I started learning how to study music, you know, and not just consuming music. And I was obsessed with just looking at the credits of every song and who was working on them. My relationship with church at the same time was just me being a member, you know, and it was just so healthy.
Okay, that's good. At what point did your relationship with church evolve into your relationship with Christ? So I know, being a preacher's kid, the obvious is, you know, I grew up in the church. Me, you grew up in the church. It's like, when you're around Jesus, all your it's kind of like a default. Like, I believe in God.
It's crazy, but it was when I left. Like, when I left the church, that's when my relationship with Christ began.
Say more. I want to hear about that.
So I remember turning 18, and that was like the first Sunday comes around, and my parents were like, "You're 18 years old. We know you still live here, but you can choose if you want to go or not."
Dang, you was in the house?
Yeah.
Your parents is different.
Yeah, for real.
It was more of a test, but you know, it was like, if you do it more than one Sunday, we're gonna kill you. You know?
Yeah.
But they did it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going. Like, you know, and I started not to go. You know, and I started not to go, and I started, at first I was missing like community. Like, I was like, man, I really, you know, I feel like I need, you know, just to hang around people. Like, it was kind of fun, you know, it was kind of fun, but I don't like getting up early. I don't like, you know, the sermons are boring. Like, even though it's my own mom, like I love how she preaches. I promise. But,
Mama coming for you on this podcast.
But honestly, I had never really gotten to experience like to see that I am flawed. I think I was so protected, and I was in like this space where like, okay, you get to experience church, you get to do this, you get to be so loved, but and you get to see other people's flaws. Like, people would walk into church and they'd be like, yeah, I need help, I'm an addict, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. I was exposed to so many, even my own family. Like, my dad's testimony is crazy, and I'm experiencing all these flaws of all these people, and the only tool I had was my finger, like, just point at them and just be like, you're messed up, you're messed up, you're messed up. So, like, why should I listen to any of you? So when I got to be by myself, when I left church and I got to be by myself, I started to realize just how flawed I really am, just how incapable of kind of keeping myself together, And I think in that season, it was a very short season, but I remember a summer where I just started pursuing different things, I just said, okay, maybe if I hang out with this crowd, maybe if I, if I just like, fully indulge myself in my desires, and it just left me wanting more and more and more, and feeling more and more lost.
And so, and what was the moment where you think things turned for you, where you like saw Christ, or saw your relationship with Christ in a new way?
Yeah, it was actually his protection. I remember being in so many situations where I needed to, like, I
flee.
Yeah, where I needed to dip, where like I'm at wrong place, wrong time. Where if anybody was in that position, I mean, your friend is turning around and leaving, but Jesus was there, and like his covering was on me. And I remember one night I was driving home, like, just not in my right mind, I'll say that, and I heard a voice, say like, I'm still protecting you, it's okay, I'm still here, I'm still protecting you. And I was like, I don't understand, that doesn't make sense to me, that does not make sense, that we're in the same room, like, that you are God Almighty, that you are so holy, and that, because I understood his holiness, and I understood like the fear of the Lord.
Sure.
But I didn't understand his grace until I needed it, So like, I was full of the fear of the Lord, but I was not full at all of his grace and love, and I did not know what that looked like, And so after that, I just started opening my Bible more. Like, that was it, by myself. I didn't start going back to church, I just started opening my Bible more, and I read the Gospels for myself. It wasn't like based off of a small group. It wasn't based off of a 1-year plan, anything like that. It was just like, I just wanted to read the Gospels, and it was just the image of Jesus that I kept coming back to. That was it. That was what saved me, honestly.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, man.
That's so powerful. I just want to, I think what you said about, you had the fear of the Lord, but you didn't understand the grace of God, and reverence is obviously part of it. But I feel like having that understanding of, like, we're sons and daughters of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? He loves us. He's a good father. And
now, you said this off air, because one thing that I do like that you do, Ace, is that you always ask like our guests, be like, hey, like, is there anything like that you want to touch on that most people don't know about you? And Alexxander, you talked about your songwriting background, just how extensive it is, and being in different rooms and different settings and different industries. Kind of dive into that a little bit about your experience in songwriting, how that even came about, and how that's molded you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but that's kind of where I got my start in music. And I started this way before I even, released a song or anything like that. My dad would invite me to his studio sessions, and at the time I was super into photography, and so I would just be capturing moments. But while I was in the room, I would just hear them arguing over like a word, and I would just see the passion and the time that it took to write a song. There are hours in there, and I think anybody would find that like extremely annoying and just like overlook it, but I was like, that's kind of genius. It takes like, there's a sacrifice that they're sacrificing their time, and they're putting so much effort into like just this line of this song. And so I fell in love with that. So I started writing songs and showing them to my dad. And my dad would present it to his friends who were artists. And this is like OG artists from Puerto Rico. And they would like them. And so me and my dad would co-write them and they would release them. And so I have like over 100 songs, you know, with the genre, with the worship genre, with urban, like it could be anything, even some secular stuff that I did back in the day. That's where I got my start. I would never sing in front of a mic. I would never do anything like that. I would just write the songs. I've gotten to write for artists in my space like Funky, Christian Ponce. Those people are like you know, like our Lecrae's, our goats, you know. And I love developing new artists too and helping them develop their sound and find their voice. That's my the thing that I'm most inspired by music is just the songwriting.
Yeah, talk about how that gift for songwriting has, you know, went into or took you to becoming an artist, and how did that knack for being an artist come alive in you?
Yeah, I think it comes from just that poetic background from my grandparents. And then also just like when I opened the book of Psalms, man, like it spoke to me. I identified so much with David and his songs, and I wanted to, I don't know why I look up to words so much, you know, like when people, I know one of my love languages is words of affirmation. It's because when people,
you're doing a great job right now. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Thank you. When people say, no, that actually means a lot. But what people say, I take to heart, you know? And so I'm like, man, if you're sitting there and you're listening to something for 3 minutes, what you say is so important because someone's taken 3 minutes out of their day to pour their heart out, and you know, it's great.
I think it'll be helpful to just rehash that in Spanish, because I think that's an important piece about your connecting the love for the Psalms, the songwriting, and your words for affirmation.
100% sí. No, pues yo he escrito canciones para artistas como Funky, Christian Ponce, Destiny Marco. Hay un montón de artistas que gracias a Dios he podido trabajar con ellos, y el amor de que se construyó para escribir canciones nació de estando en el estudio con papi, estando en las sesiones. Yo estaba tomando fotos en una esquina y escuchando a ellos pelearse por una palabra y estar, tú sabes, frustrados porque no pueden encontrar la oración perfecta para esta canción, para este pedacito de la canción. Me encantó ver eso. Así que yo empecé a escribir canciones en mi cuarto, abrí el libro de Salmos y ahí me enamoré de todo lo que David estaba escribiendo. Esa fue mi mayor inspiración.
Yeah, I'm saying, I know exactly what you said. But I have so you ran away from artistry a little bit. Now you have like a whole catalog and you're, you know, killing it. What was the moment that sparked in you to be like, you know what? I love songwriting. I'm writing with my dad. I write for these different worship artists and groups. I think I got a voice to communicate something from me, for my own music. When did that happen for you?
Yeah, so after my dad forced me to do a song with him, I kind of touched on it a little bit. He told me, just start doing covers on YouTube. Like just start posting yourself and showing people your progress. Because that's something that no one had ever done in our space, was just showing the progress. And so if you go to my YouTube channel, it's the worst stuff that you can find. Like if you scroll down a little bit, I'm so bad, man. Like I go back to it, I'm like, geez, like I can't believe I posted that. I'm definitely gonna have y'all take them down.
We're gonna keep them up.
No.
Progress.
But yeah, so that started. My dad bought me like a Focusrite kit, you know, that came with a mic and the little red Focusrite box. And he just told me lock in. And so I remember I was 19 and I quit my job and I just locked in for 2 whole years. Didn't do anything else other than just learn how to make music. So a lot of YouTube. I went to YouTube University I just like learned how to produce in Logic and learn how to record myself and learn how to sing too.
Right.
And my dad would help me out a little bit, but he's so strict when it comes to, because he's known for his vocals. Like that's his line. That's what he does, you know? So my dad he would hear me. He's like, no, you're off. You're flat. You're this, you're that, you know? It was very frustrating.
Right.
So I had to kind of put a boundary there.
No, I get it. All right, Pops, I got this.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I let myself develop my own sound and my own voice, which I think helped a lot just because I didn't know what kind of music I wanted to do.
Right.
And my dad's music is so different than mine, you know. I remember when I first got started doing covers, he would like reshare me and people would just be like, what is this? There's no way this is your son. Like he sounds nothing like you, you know. What, this is awful. This is that. Like it was just, and I would just laugh because I understood that that's not the audience.
Sure,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's not the people that want to listen to what I'm doing. And shortly after that, I found them, or they found me.
No, they did find you. I mean, you had the Alexxander album, which was fire. The album that I discovered, that I found you on. And, you know, a couple years later, you're here. Talk about some of the things that you're working on, your latest single, Celebrar. Just how things going with your artist career now? And
Man, I released 3 records recently. Química, Tres Deseos, Celebrar. Very special records, honestly, very different from one another, and definitely on purpose because it's just to show the versatility and kind of like what the space needs. You know, as far as sound, the Latin space is very, very different than y'all's American space. And it's cool. It's cool to embrace that. It's cool to have this union with Reach and be able to put out just music consistently, great quality stuff, you know.
And what's like for the people listening, getting to know you and hearing the music, and for the people who may not be able to understand, like what is the heart behind these records and your music in general? Like, can you just kind of share some of that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like I'd have to go one by one, but like for example with Química, like the heart behind that song is just it's like a new age psalm. You know, that was my heart behind it. That's my favorite book in the Word is the Book of Psalms. And so it's like a take of like what would a song like that look like just with new age language, like with our generation's language. And so the word that I used in Spanish is química, means chemistry, and it's just talking about the chemistry between God and I and just that intimacy. And it's just a beautiful love song. The second one's Tres Deseos. That one's 3 wishes, and it was just born out of frustrations and necessity, you know. It was just, I wrote it at a time in my life where I needed Christ, and it was like if I had 3 wishes, they would still all be the same thing. It would be just Christ in my life, you know, ultimately. And celebrar is kind of that point where you just get to lift up your hands and say thank you and be grateful. And and I feel like even if you don't understand it, you can it has that same spirit, it has that same energy. Yeah. And it's, man, I think people are really gonna like it, whether you know Spanish or not. I think people are really, really gonna understand the records just from sound.
Yeah. I mean that's something I you know, like dope for you to kind of share. And I have a question too about for the people that are loving it, and because you're naturally progressive aesthetically, artistically, even visually, in the way you present yourself, which is like unique for the Latin space, which we talked about before. I've also seen some like chippy comments here and there.
Oh, for sure.
Like talk about how it is for you to have this like rock star influence, like your hair, your clothes, your vibe. How do you convey your art? Like, what do you say to that? The people that are like poking holes. Like, and like Latin culture.
Been, you know, our space. There's still a conversation about whether urban music should even exist. You know, whether you can praise and worship God through, you know, a reggaeton track or a trap track. This is still a touchy subject that over here in the American space is like, you know, pioneers like Lecrae already shut that door and kind of shut that argument down. But it's still a conversation over here, and it's cool to see just like how, you know, you guys pioneered in the American market and kind of like, just showed people how you can do it and how you're doing it through me as well. And I think we're going to be able to achieve it. Also, like, to people that do feel that way, I don't judge them at all. I want them to honestly see my heart first, my intentions. Like, I completely understand why you would be afraid of something different, of something that looks weird. Because, I mean, that's exactly how people reacted when they saw Jesus. But I do want you to see Jesus in me. I want you to see that we have that same spirit, just a different mentality. And I want you to understand it. Not necessarily embrace it, if you don't like it. But I do want you to process it and understand it.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful to rehash that also in Spanish.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. En el espacio latino es muy diferente. Yo sé que en el inglés hay pioneros como la Cray que pues rompieron esos esquemas de que si el género urbano es cristiano o no, pero todavía en lo latino es una conversación que estamos teniendo hoy en día. Entonces, cuando la gente me ve por mi estilo, por mi manera de actuar, por mi música, lo que sea, la gente tiene pues una perspectiva bien específica sobre mí que pues no los culpo y no los juzgo por tener esa expectativa de mí, pero sí los invito a que conozcan mi corazón, los invito a que vean a Jesús a través de mí, a que vean que tenemos el mismo espíritu, aunque sea una mentalidad diferente, tenemos el mismo espíritu y que la música, van a ver el corazón de Dios en la música. Yeah.
Oh.
How does it feel to be the front runner of that conversation of mixing gospel and with reggaeton and things like that? Like I know that can kind of be, I mean, it sounds like trailblazing at first, but then like of course like hearing the chippy comments and things like that. So I know that there's both sides of that. I'm just curious to what it feels like for you being the leader of that conversation, now being in this position here at Reach.
Yeah. I don't know if I personally see it that way. I try not to. I just see it as like a movement that we're doing, and I just happen to be, like it's kind of my turn right now. But I think like there's an artist that's just gonna come along me as well, and we're just gonna keep building and pushing. So I just see it as this big movement that God's just opening doors, and I think there's gonna be a flood of music that's gonna be clean, that's gonna be that's gonna have the same spirit as what we know as CCM, but with urban sound and Latin sounds.
Yeah,
that's fire.
Yeah, I agree.
As we close, man, anything else you want to update the people with what you're working on? What's next for you, and how they can look out for you?
Man, we're locked in. We're locked in at a camp right now, so we're just songwriting a lot, and we're gonna be sharing everything. So there's gonna be snippets. There's gonna be pieces that I want everybody, just like when I used to do covers and people were seeing that progress, I want people to see what that progress is like in Reach, as an artist or however you want to call it. So we're just going to be sharing and we want you guys to be involved. We want the community to be involved and tell us, we like this, we like that, we don't like this, we don't like that. So we're going to be constantly leaking projects, music, and showing behind the scenes a lot. So I definitely invite people to go to my page and stay in tune for that.